Hello, podcast world, fellow horticulturists, lovers of plants, gardeners, family, and friends. Welcome to Shrubby Buddies, the podcast, friends with woodies for garden goodies. I'm host Matt Guthrie.
And I'm host Tim Fleischer. Coming at you from Central Ohio, Zone 6B. We're just a couple of public horticulturists and certified arborists with experience in education, landscape design, gardening, retail, and wholesale.
So grab a drink, polish your pruners, dust off that kneeling pad, and let's get down to business. Hey, Shrubby Buddies, and welcome to this week's episode of the podcast. I am host Matthew C. Guthrie the First, joined with old Timmy Tough Knuckles Fleischer. Tim, how are you?
That's me.
Yeah.
Just tough.
Tough Knuckles.
Tough and knuckling.
Not to be confused with the Moose Knuckles.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
No. None of that here.
So, Tim, what is up, my friend?
Hi, Matt.
Hi.
It's a pleasure to be here today. We're recording on a Sunday.
The pleasure's
Father's
all
Day.
mine. Yeah, happy Father's Day, by the
Father's
way.
Day Sunday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Happy Father's Day to you, Timmy, and all of the other wonderful fathers in this world that are listening to this or not.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
happy Father's Day.
Dads are good.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So we're recording this on Father's Day. We had to fit this in because you're going up to the motherland tomorrow morning. So
Yep.
So you're going to be gone all week.
Yeah, going up to help my brother build a deck off the back of the cabin. So that will be my week.
Going to pour some footers.
Yeah.
Build some.
Got to install a ledger board and pour some footers.
Ledger boards,
set
footers,
some posts.
posts. Yeah, a lot of deck talk.
A lot of deck talk, but that's not what we're here for today. Today we are here for horticulture talk. Tim,
Sure,
more trees, less assholes.
sure. That's what my hat says.
That's what his hat says. Sorry to everybody that we weren't able to get the video up last week. This is a work in progress for us. We weren't able to recorded to my iPhone. I'm finding that the Mac computer that I have lacks the power to run the video editing software like Final Cut or
So we need
CapCut
a new computer and or an IT department.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
So, but we'll figure it out. We'll get there. Like I said, it's a work in progress. So, soon enough, my friends, you'll get to see our ugly mugs on the YouTube screen. So,
Yeah, we want to try something out with like just a cell phone just to see how it goes, and then eventually get some more high quality video,
yeah, like some
different
$8,000,
angles.
8K cinematic. We need about 6 of them.
I don't know if I'm on board with that, but
6 of them in here so we can get every different angle of the dangle. So, what's new in your world, my dude?
honestly, nothing new. I got nothing.
Same old.
Nothing new to report. I woke up this morning and
Moving a little
my
bit slow.
family had gone and picked up some breakfast at our favorite local breakfast place,
Ooh, where was that at?
Cafe Creekside,
Okay.
and they picked up a to-go order, and they got me my favorite 2 over easy with home fries with onions in the fries. Yep, bacon and sourdough,
Oh,
and I demolished that, and that was very, very nice. And thank you to my family. So yeah,
that's awesome.
that's what's been going on with me, just demolishing some breakfast.
And that was after a night of picana and lobster
yeah.
tail.
Yeah, I made some last night for supper. I made like late night, like after Whitney, the 3-year-old, went to bed. I got on that grill and I grilled up some picana steaks and then sliced it against the grain. It was delicious. And then 2 lobster. I've never cooked lobster tails, but
They look.
we found a good price on them, so we made them. And gosh, they were good. I made a little herb butter with herbs from the garden.
You just melt that herb butter all over it.
I used tarragon, chives, and dill in the herb butter.
Okay. Sounds amazing.
It was good. And then just some crispy pea pods from the garden, just raw, tossed in some of that herb butter.
Sweet.
Yeah, it was delicious.
Sounds delicious.
Yeah.
Not a whole lot new here, but I do want to fill all of the listeners in. If you are in the Central Ohio area, we are having at Dutch Mill Greenhouse this coming Saturday, the 21st, the summer solstice event, and Tim and I will be hosting a plant trivia there. It'll be like a 20-question plant trivia thing. They're going to have plant bingo, it's stuff for the kids, all of that fun stuff. I think it's $5 to enter the trivia. $5 for the bingo, and that gets you like 5 bingo cards. But there's going to be like plant giveaways. I want to say maybe gift card or money giveaways. I don't know exactly for sure. But all of the money that's made off of it goes to the Union County Humane Society here. So
That's so cool.
yeah, so it's for a good cause, and they're going to have, hot dogs and drinks and all of that good stuff. So should be a fun time. If you're around, please do come out and support the Humane Society of Union County, support Dutch Mill Greenhouse, and have fun with us for a little plant trivia.
Yeah, come eat a wiener with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if you don't play the trivia, eat a wiener with us.
I love a good wiener.
What's your favorite things to put? Like if you just got a standard hot dog and then you got everything at your disposal, what 3 things are you putting on it?
I mean, everything at my disposal?
You have everything at your disposal. What 3 things are you putting on your hot dog? That doesn't count the bun. The bun's that's standard.
I mean, would like chili be one?
You 3 things.
I would say chili, cheese, and onions.
Chili, cheese, and onion. Like shredded cheese or like nacho cheese?
Like shredded cheese.
Okay.
Yeah, like a sharp cheddar.
Yeah, that would be high on my list too. My 3 would be pickle relish, onions, and like a ballpark mustard.
Like something with a little spice. I mean that was running through my mind too.
Yeah.
If I'm going for just the old traditional dog, But I love a chili dog. Chili, onions, and cheese all day long.
My only difference though is I think I'm going with like a nacho cheese. Over the shredded.
I like the shredded cheese. And I like when that chili gets into the bun, you just dump it all over it. And yeah.
You know what I do? You know what I do if there's not chili around? Typically when there's like a hot dog cookout, there's baked beans. I slather that thing in baked beans.
You could put about anything you want on a hot dog.
True.
I'll crunch up some potato chips on my chili dog for that little crunch in there.
A corn relish on a hot dog. Yeah, that's good too. Oh, man.
You hungry?
Yeah, wow.
Well, speaking of hungry, this week's episode is going to be all about snacks. But before we dive into that, I almost forgot our fun little segment each week of What's in Bloom.
Okay, all right.
Stigma anther pollen style. What's a bloomin' crocodile?
Can you move that cursor?
Yeah.
So it's not.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Oh, okay.
It's still kind of. Just put it to the bottom.
My God,
all right,
Tim, come on.
I'm just gonna get going here. What's blooming this week? Today is Sunday, 6:15. I have noticed the Stella d'Oro daylilies blooming everywhere. They are a dime a dozen.
Yep.
And honestly, if paired with the right thing, then whatever. But like, they're just so common, and you just get sick of seeing them, right?
Yeah, there's nothing I can really say where I'm just like, it's not a plant that's invasive.
No.
It stands up to everything, and it's a rebloomer. If they weren't used by the millions in every single municipality around the United States, then it would probably be a different story, but they are literally used by the millions. So it's just kind of like blah, right now. But yeah.
The smooth hydrangea, which is our native hydrangea here in Ohio. You might know cultivars like Incredible or Annabelle and Invincible. There's like a million cultivars. That's starting to hit its stride right now, and that's really pretty. Larkspur, Delphinium is the Latin name for that. Purples and pinks and whites shooting up 3-4 foot high. Staghorn sumac, I noticed down at Riverside Crossing, is starting to bloom. Really great shrub with great fall color, but right now it's blooming and definitely noticeable. Similarly to staghorn sumac, and they typically grow in the same place, is tree of heaven, which is a terrible tree. Nothing heavenly about it. Really terrible invasive in our area, but it is blooming right now nonetheless, so I shall mention it.
Okay.
but like from a distance, a lot of similarities to the staghorn sumac. Carl Forster feather reed grass, which is a very commonly used grass in the landscape, but adds a great little pop of like upright texture to the garden. Talked about it a lot. Stachy's Homelo, or common name wood betony, is blooming right now. Lady's mantle is blooming right now. We might have already mentioned it, but it's like really starting to bloom. So silky dogwood, Matt and I have both independently noticed in some of our natural areas. Common milkweed.
Yes.
You noticed. I didn't notice it, but you added it to the list.
Yeah, I saw some flowering on Friday. We went prairie hopping Friday afternoon just to look at a couple of prairies that I had installed. One a couple years ago and a couple other last year, just to see how they were progressing, because they are still so young and immature. And there was a lot of common milkweed in there that was flowering right alongside the butterfly weed, which I think we mentioned last week.
Yeah,
so.
And the swamp milkweed's starting to bloom too. So a lot of milkweeds popping off right now. Also, holy spidgies. We talked about spigilia already blooming, but it is still blooming, and it is blooming hard. And mark my word, if this is not the perennial plant of the year within the next 3 years,
You quit.
I'll quit.
Right.
Okay, I'll guess 3 to 5. 3 to 5 years.
Yeah.
But god damn, that plant is amazing.
It is a nice plant.
Just really cool plant, Spigilia marilandica. If you get a chance, you see it at your garden center, scoop that up. Sun, shade, dry, wet. It loves it all. And then to tie in with today's topic, the last thing that's blooming very heavily right now is poison hemlock.
Okay.
A noxious weed in our area, and it's feared. I mean, people fear poison hemlock like there's no tomorrow, and there's no reason to fear it. Like, just don't eat it and you're gonna be fine. There's a lot of misnomers out there about poison hemlock, about it giving you like poison ivy. If it rubs on you, it'll give you a rash. About like, if poison hemlock rubs on you, you'll die. No, nothing will happen. That's not how it works. If you get the sap into your eyeballs or down your throat or something, or in your beehole, then you could die.
Keep the hemlock out of your eyeballs, your nose holes, your mouth hole, and your butthole, and you're good to go.
And you're good.
Yeah.
So let's just like dial it back with the poison hemlock. It's here. It's not going anywhere. We can only do so much about it. But anyways, you can see I'm on a soapbox. I need to get down. But don't eat that one.
But so don't eat the poison hemlock. But let's talk about things that you'll find planted ornamentally or just growing in the wild that would be good to eat as you're walking along. Something that you can pull off the vine, if you will, and snack on, cook, do whatever.
The reason why we thought about we decided to do an episode about snacks in the landscape is because of the serviceberries right now, which are just like full bore. I mean, they're about to be done because they're a flash in the pan, but they are one of the most delicious treats in the landscape. And we just thought, let's just like tie this all up and mention everything that we can snack on, because I love snacking in the landscape. You know this.
So, Mr. Serviceberry friend, this is a tribute to you.
Yes.
Tim, so my neighbors have some serviceberry trees, and probably about 2 or 3 years ago, they were unaware, I think, that the serviceberries were edible. Or maybe they knew serviceberry was edible, but they weren't aware of what it was that they had growing. So I turned them onto the serviceberries, and now, of course, they pick them like crazy. They're making jams, serviceberry pies, crumbles, all of that good stuff. But it was you that told me this story, and we may have talked about it on this podcast last year at some point, about how serviceberry, because a lot of people call them June berries because the berries are ripe typically the first part of June. How was it that they got the name serviceberry? So I shared this story with them, and they were just floored. They thought it was so cool to hear like kind of the lore behind how it got the name serviceberry. So share that with us, please.
So back in the day, back when I was banging, but way before that, when like settlers were here and someone might pass away in the wintertime, the ground up in the northern United States and into Canada would be too frozen to bury them. So they'd have to keep them not buried until
They just keep
the
them
ground would
maybe
thaw.
on salt or something, like a preservative.
I think they just kept them outside,
Okay.
wrapped up in the old woodshed,
Yeah.
frozen, whatever. But so the service berries blooming would signify the ground being thawed enough for them to dig a deep enough hole to bury the winter deceased. And that's how service berries got their name.
Because they would have a burial service
Correct.
when the berry.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Very cool.
when the service berries bloomed, which was back in like April,
Yeah.
right, about the same time as the red buds were blooming.
Yeah.
But now those blooms have turned into these delicious berries, and I can't overstate how delicious they are. We're going to spend a little longer on service berries than anything else, but they're the reason for this episode. And when I first learned about these, when I was taking my college plant ID classes, I was obsessed with munching on these things, and they are good, right?
Dude, yeah.
Like, how would you describe it?
I always tell people that they're similar to like a blueberry, I guess. I mean, the taste is different, but it's very similar. Like that. If I was comparing it to another fruit, because when I've told people about it that are unaware, they're like, well, what's it taste like? And you can't say, obviously, you can't say, well, it tastes like a service berry. Like, well, no shit, Sherlock. But the best thing that I could like compare it to would be a blueberry. I don't know. And they even kind of look like blueberries. So they're red, and then as they ripen, they turn to this super dark, almost black, purpley blue color.
About the same size as a blueberry.
Yeah, the same size.
I
and
think I get a
texture.
little apple in the flavor, and the thing about it is it's easy to say blueberry because they look like blueberries, but I don't know if that tricks your mind, but they are in the Rosaceae family, which is apples and crab apples and things. So I feel like I get a little apple-y flavor, but they're so like, it's not like one of these things where you're like, well, you can eat it, but it's very sour, but it's not going to hurt you. No, it's like effing delicious, right? And the big reason why it's not, an important, fruit crop is because it has a very short shelf life. So once you pick them, you got a day or two to eat them before you have to freeze them. They're not going to sit on a shelf in a grocery store for very long.
Yeah.
And there's seeds in them. And the seeds are soft. Like they're soft, but they take up some real estate inside that berry. And just the society we are in right now, we just don't like seeds. Seedless watermelons,
Dude,
seedless
I don't
grapes,
pay
right?
attention to the seeds in the
No.
service berry. They go right
Just
down the
eat 'em
gullet,
down
dude.
by the handful. So they're not like big seeds that are going to crunch and break your teeth.
No.
They're soft, but they're there, and I think it'll turn a lot of people off.
And then when you poop in the wild, you can grow a service berry.
Yeah, if those things go through your hole,
Yeah. Unless you got diverticulitis,
Never
then it
thought
might
about
get
that.
stuck up in there.
Yeah. God, so many different directions we could go with the service berries going through the digestive system. But
Oh gosh, so service berries are where it's at.
they're just wonderful, and we all us hort nerds have our like honey holes where we go to harvest our service berries. I know that years ago I harvested a whole shit ton of them, and my dad made a bunch of pies out of them. And
But if you're out picking them and you see one that's got this funky orange looking like fungusy stuff on it, that's what it is a fungus. It's cedar apple rust, and I mean, it's not gonna. You're gonna brush up against it, and it's gonna get these orange spores all over you or whatever. It's not gonna hurt you. Just don't eat them,
Yeah.
But like to get the orange on your hand, it's more annoying than anything.
yeah, but I have noticed an uptick in this in some of my honey holes that the last 2 years, and it's like shit.
I think a lot of it has to probably do with weather, like we talked about in the last episode or episode before, the just wet and more mild springs that we've had are just kind of like, I mean, that's a breeding ground for these rusts and things. So it is what it is. I've seen it this year, but fortunately it wasn't on every service berry. I know like next door here, their service berries did not have any of it. And we've got a park there in Dublin that I found about 6 of them that were loaded, not a single bit of the rust on them. So, but our one main honey hole, we went over there and sure enough, rust all over them. So,
and before we move on to the next things we can snack on in the landscape, I do want to give a little PSA about knowing what you're eating before you eat it.
yeah,
Because while service berries are delicious and just fine to eat, there's a lot of berries out there that are, at worst going to like perhaps kill you. I'm not going to go that far, but are going to give you like diarrhea for weeks and stomach cramps. So you need to know what you're doing. So if you're not 110% sure on an identification, don't do it, right?
Yeah.
Like if you find service berries in August, they ain't service berries.
Yeah.
Okay, folks, like all these things have timetables. So just
Yeah.
keep that in mind and make sure that you're doing your due diligence on identification.
Thanks for that.
And we're not going to say that again because, you know,
That just kind of ruins the like luster of this.
if you're an adult, you should know to do that. And if you are worried about children, then you should be watching your children and making sure they're not eating stuff.
Or they'll end up dead in a bus in Alaska.
Yeah. What's his name?
Yeah. McCandles?
Yeah, Chris McCandles.
Chris McCandles.
Yeah. That's a whole nother.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother thing.
All right. So pawpaw trees is the state fruit of Ohio. This is another great
State native fruit.
State native fruit. It's a native tree to Ohio, and much of probably, I don't know what its native range would be. I would imagine all along the East Coast and across the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Kind of an understory edge of the tree line kind of tree. It colonizes really well.
Rich moisture, rich moist woodlots.
Yeah. Creates these colonies of lots of trees. Typically, if there's one, there's 1,000. It seems like around. There's like a mother tree and all of its siblings. But these fruits are amazing, and they're going to be one that ripens in the fall. So some people, I think, for the pawpaw, people will call them Kentucky bananas and things, but it's just this really cool kind of
Indiana plantain.
Is that what they call it?
I'm just making shit up.
It's what, probably 6 to 8 inches long?
Yeah, it ranges. You can get some as small as a golf ball even.
Yeah, and probably like the diameter, thicker than a banana, but kind of in that range. Real pretty, kind of olive green colored fruit through much of the season, but then it ripens to this yellow like a banana would.
Mm-hmm.
Typically, you can shake the tree and they'll fall off. And usually if they fall off and they look like what a ripe banana would look like, you can cut them in half. They've got these giant seeds in them you can pick right out or spit out or whatever.
Yeah,
and
so easy to get around those seeds.
Yeah, because they are big.
They're like the size
big
of a lima bean.
Yeah, like a big lima bean inside of these things. But it's just got this nice, smooth, rich kind of custardy flavor to them. I don't know how else to explain it, but you can do all kinds of things with them besides eat them right off the tree.
If you look up flavor of a pawpaw, you'll get everything from banana to strawberry to tropical fruit to papaya. I mean, it's crazy, and it just put all those into one, right?
Every time that you say papaya, I think of that song you sing. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Where you shake the Baptisia seed heads.
Mama say no play, this is a work day. Up with the bright sun, get all the work done. If you will help me climb up the tall tree, shake the papaya down.
Love it.
Yeah, so kind of like the same idea, but pawpaw, not papaya.
Yeah.
Not the same thing. Really easily recognized understory tree because they've got these giant leaves that look very tropical. I mean,
yeah,
the whole
they do look
plant
like a
is
tropical
very
tree.
tropical looking, and that's what's interesting.
Side nugget about the pawpaw: we found the state champion for Ohio some years ago.
You did, yes, you did.
Okay, I'll take credit. I found the state champion pawpaw tree in Ohio some years ago, but it has since died and been taken off the list, which is a real bummer, but that happens. So
It's cool because if you look at this tree at the base, you're like, I mean, it's not very. How big around was it? The
yeah, it wasn't so. I mean,
It's not real girthy.
It was bigger
Okay.
than that. But I mean, let's say like maybe I'd have to look it up. 15 inches in diameter,
I mean, it
breast
wasn't-
height. But it was like this was a pawpaw tree. So if you know anything about pawpaws, you're gonna be like, holy shit, that was a big tree. But this tree was like 55 feet tall.
Yeah, it grew out of like the floodplain of a stream in Dublin, and then Matt noticed it because he was walking around the rim and you could see the canopy of it.
Yeah. So this is in a cliff setting. The cliff I know is close to 50 feet in height.
Yeah,
We have a trail around the rim of it, and I'm like, that's a pawpaw tree.
that thing lived a good life.
It's taller than I am, and I'm standing on a 50-foot tall, cliff here. So we called in one of the state foresters who at the time ran the State of Ohio's Big Tree Champion program. Sure enough, came out one winter, so we could see the canopy nice and good, and we ran measurements, and it was like, damn, 55-foot tall tree. So yeah, it got state champion, but then since died. So
it lived a good life. But hey, we're getting close to being too late for service berries, but you can prepare for the pawpaws.
Yeah,
we're
pawpaws
talking
late summer,
September.
early fall.
Yeah, like right into September. There's a pawpaw festival here in Ohio, like the third week of September. Get out and try those things. They are like, you're just like, this grows here in our woods. It's so cool.
Get them before everyone else does, because it is one of those things where if there's a patch and people know about it, they're gone.
Well, yeah, and the deer and the squirrels, like everything wants to eat these things. So they're just probably packed full of nutrients. And I've made pawpaw bread out of them.
Yeah,
using the same recipe as banana bread, just insert pawpaw. So
yeah.
White
mulberry. Mm-hmm. So unlike pawpaw, this is a non-native noxious type weed tree, but the berries on it they're good. They're not serviceberry good, but they're still good enough to snack on. I'll always pick a ripe mulberry off of a white mulberry tree. These are the mulberries that grow about everywhere, and a little crack between the alleyway and your brick garage.
Yeah, they love growing in concrete alleyways.
Super resilient weed, but they do have delicious berries. The berries do stain, so which is pretty unfortunate because they'll stain sidewalks and driveways and everything else. The birds love them, so the birds eat them like crazy and then shit purple all over the city.
Mm-hmm. But that said, it's a nice berry. It resembles a blackberry, so it's like a composite. It's a composite berry where the serviceberry is more of a drupe fruit. This mulberry is a composite berry, so it looks just like a blackberry, but it's growing out of a tree.
Drupe fruit, love it. Yep, I need a sticker that says drupe fruit.
Put that on the t-shirt list.
T-shirt list saying drupe fruit. So,
yeah, I think they're delicious. Like Matt said, not as good as a serviceberry, but you get them just ripe and get a handful of those in your mouth. There's nothing to complain about.
Yeah, I would say with those though, I will pick them right off the tree and eat them. I have heard horror stories of people getting these big chunky ones and throwing them in their mouth and then feeling something move, and there's like an insect that's like hidden down inside
the earwig. I feel like earwigs are
something's hidden down in the crevasse of one of these big mulberries. So maybe wash them, but I don't do that. I just look at it and I'm like, I
don't see anything in there.
Extra protein and just the way I
now
go.
You're gonna make me think twice, unfortunately, because like I said, when those things are ripe, there's so many. Dude, those berries.
You're going to have an earwig in your mouth, and it's going to crawl up that back like cavity, up like your sinus cavity, and it's going to crawl out of your nose hole. What would you do if you felt this like earwig up there like eating away in your cavities?
I'd probably just take a long nap. Try to like get that out of my brain. And but also, yeah, I don't know where I was going with that. But yeah, earwigs. What I was going to say, as long as it doesn't like attach its little pinchers to my brain,
you're good.
Then I'll survive.
Cool.
Yeah.
Coosa dogwood.
Mm-hmm.
This is an often overlooked fruit. I love the tree. You know me. I love dogwoods, which, not to get off track, but just super, super quick. I saw a Coosa dogwood yesterday that is the nicest specimen Coosa dogwood I've ever seen in my life.
Tell me more.
It was just outside of Bellevue, Ohio. I was headed up to Lake Erie, and we had to take this detour. So we're coming along this road out of Bellevue, headed back over to State Route 4 North to get up to Lake Erie, and I looked over, and I was just like, and I looked at Taylor and was like, that is a specimen tree right there. It was like just this big, huge, beautiful Coosa dogwood out in front of this house, all by its lonesome, big piece of property, nice big estate. And from head to toe, this thing was just covered in white flowers. It was ridiculous. I wanted to stop and get pictures.
I was just going to say, the Matt I know would have stopped taking pictures, knocked on the door, talked to the owner.
100%. But because it was a detour, like there was a lot of traffic behind me. Yeah, like follow me. So I was like, I can't just
on a time
slam on the brakes. Yeah, and take a picture of this dogwood. But anyways, Coosa dogwood. So we all know them for the flowering and the beautiful fall color, but the flowers make these nice little red berries that become the fruit on them is, how would you describe it? It almost looks like a little
Sweet gum.
sweet gum fruit. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Okay.
kind of like dull spikes that come out of it, and it's about that size, maybe a little bit smaller.
So you don't want to eat the flesh or the skin.
You can't just pop these in your mouth.
Yeah, you have to peel the skin off of it, or you're going to have sweet gum spikes going down your throat.
And it's bitter.
But
skin
the
is bitter.
fleshy interior is divine.
It is. It's like apricot-y. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just a mind trick again because it's like orange on the inside, but it's apricot-y to me, the flavor. So, and when they have to be a little bit squishy to the touch. Mm-hmm. If you try to rip one of these open when it's still rock hard, it's not going to taste very good.
Yeah.
So
I don't like a rock hard fruit anyways.
And there's a lot of dogwood fruits that are edible, different species, but edible and delicious are two different things. But so these are actually very, very tasty and sweet when you get into the meat. Very sweet meat.
I like a sweet meat.
I know.
Like a lobster tail with we're hitting up a lot of these like berries and these.
You want to try something? You want to go to a different part of the plant?
Let's just go to a different part of the plant for a second.
At me. Throw one at me.
Let's go to a plant that so many people plant and probably have no idea is edible, but it can be used as in salads and all kinds of fun things to add fun pops of color. But that would be pansies, just your good old pansies that you plant in the spring.
Mm-hmm. Pansies and violas.
Yeah, and violas. So we'll wrap those together. But yeah, so the flower parts of the pansies are, I mean, they're not like eating a mulberry, but kind of that like lettucey, or how would you describe it?
It's a little sweet. Call me crazy, but it's like a little creamy when you get chewing on some leaves or some blooms of pansies.
Okay.
And I almost get sometimes on some of them, I almost get like a very faint spearmint taste out of them.
Okay.
This is just me. This is what I taste.
Well, you have one hell of a palate.
Not like eating toothpaste though, but I just get a little like a mild spearmint flavor out of them when I eat them. But like Matt said, these are dime a dozen. You're going to find these everywhere. I don't recommend picking these out of like flower pots and stuff, because if everyone picks a pansy out of a flower pot, then there's no more blooms in the flower pot, right?
We can't just stick our head in there and just start mowing down.
As someone who is like directly in charge of a lot of the flower pots in Dublin where pansies are often there, I would hate if people were just munching on them all
Everybody
day.
in Dublin, head down there with your ranch dressing and just go to town.
Also, another thing to be aware of, especially when you're eating something like this that's more of a delicate landscape plant, is chemicals.
Okay. Yeah.
You never know what chemicals are on them if they're newly planted, if they came from the grower that was using chemicals on them, or if maybe it's a municipality that's using chemicals on them. So just be aware of that.
Now, our foliar spray, or if you buy from Dutch Mill Greenhouse, because this is all right up Nick Walters' alley, dude. Like, this talk is him to the
He loves this.
Yeah. But the foliar spray that we use is all organic and food grade chemicals. So you could munch on our pansy flowers down there, and it ain't going to be an issue.
Munch away on the pansy flowers sprayed with this stuff.
But they do look beautiful, like in a salad.
Yeah, absolutely. So
to dress up a plate with some color, because pansies come in all the different colors. So
yeah, I mean, cooking with edible flowers is a huge thing these days, and this is just one of those things. They come in every single color you can imagine. So
yeah. All right. Pansies, hosta shoots. This is one that is new to me that I was unaware of, but apparently when they're kind of coming out of the ground and they're those little pointy shoots, you can just slice them right off and chew on them, and
yeah,
they taste really good.
Yeah, I put this on the list.
You did.
I've munched on a few. You cut a hosta shoot off when it's just a couple of inches tall coming out of the ground before the leaves have unfurled, and it's so tender.
Yeah.
That when you bite into it, it's like I'm trying to think of like something to compare it to tenderness wise, but it's very tender. It doesn't have a whole lot of flavor, but it doesn't have a strong flavor. So it's edible. It's refreshing. It's a lot of people will use them and cook with them, but they can be eaten raw right out of the ground. Now, if you cut off every single hosta shoot that comes out of your ground, then you're gonna have less hostas. So, but I mean, just something fun to try.
So the deer are onto something.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. The deer are onto something.
For sure.
So the little emerging hosta shoots that come from the ground.
So hosta shoots, when you're out there weeding your garden in the not really weeding, but working in your garden in the spring, just slice off a little hosta shoot if you're bored and give it a little gnaw.
Very tender.
Kill some time with the hosta shoot. Hackberries, another one I was unaware. I kind of assumed that they were edible, but had never tried one, never really thought about trying a hackberry, and you threw it on this list and you're like, yeah, man, hackberries are amazing. So again, everyone, this talk is right up Nick Walters' alley. This is right up your alley too. They don't call you Timmy, I'll eat anything, or I'll try anything once, Fleischer for nothing.
It was I'll eat anything, Tim.
I'll eat anything, Tim.
That was my nickname in college.
And for good reason, because you will eat anything.
No, let me just tell you about hackberries. The flavor on them is delicious.
Okay.
So a hackberry is a native tree that grows in some really tough sites. Big tree.
I love hackberry
Celtis
trees.
occidentalis. I do too. I think they provide a lot of value for many reasons. But later on in the summer and into the fall, they've got a bunch of small little drupe fruits, which are often, it's a big tree, so you can't always reach them. And I would say 92% of this fruit is a giant hard seed that you cannot eat because it's hard. It'll break your teeth. But the area around that seed is like, again, this isn't going to sound very appetizing, but it's like layers of dry edible paper.
Okay.
And you
haven't sold me on it yet.
Kind of roll that around in your molars and kind of get that dry flesh off, and then spit the seed out, and the flesh tastes exactly, to me, like a date or a raisin.
Okay.
So it's a very delicious flavor, very like depth of fruit.
I mean, I'll try
flavor.
it. I trust you.
And I love it. You're not going to get full on these things, but it's a cool little thing. Like, oh, I can snack on some of these hackberries if I can reach them. So, yeah.
Oh, that's
trust
fantastic.
me. The flavor's there.
I trust you, man.
And I know that if you talk to our friend, the black forager,
I was literally just getting ready to say something.
She gets
about
into
her.
like making all kinds of things out of the seed.
Yeah.
Grinding them up and this and that. And I know like the Native Americans use these for a lot more things, but we're talking about just purely walking by and snacking.
Yeah. So if you're into this urban foraging thing and you want to learn more about it, follow on Instagram the Black Forager. Her name's Alexis Nicole, and she's based out of Columbus, Ohio. And she's legit, people. Like this girl, if you're listening and you're into social media and you like gardening and all that stuff, chances are you've heard her or you've seen a video come across your feed at some point, whether you follow her or not. She's got a ridiculous amount of followers in the social media world. A lot of celebrities follow her. I'm talking like President Obama and his wife Michelle, and I want to say like LeBron James's wife follow. Like she's very well known, but this is all she does.
We've been in her story before.
We have.
That's our little claim to fame.
We met her at a park in Dublin, and she said she'd come on this podcast, and we have.
Yeah, we should have got her phone number because now we can't get a hold of her.
Yeah, she was sweet as can be, but
she's
I'm sure that
real fun lady.
Yeah, I'm sure that our direct messages get buried in her social media stuff. So, anyways, jewelweed seeds. Here is like jewelweed is one that just grows like in mass in the forest and stuff. Like
very wet sites.
Yeah,
jewelweed likes wet sites.
It kind of reminds you of an impatient a little bit.
It is.
It
is an impatient.
Oh, is it an impatient? Okay, and it's got the orange flower on it.
It's our native impatient. There's an orange flowered one and a yellow flowered one. We most commonly see the orange flowered one.
Yep.
Yeah. Often thought of as an antidote to poison ivy. I don't know.
Okay.
Again, people say it like they rub it on, like if you rub it on yourself after you've gotten into some poison ivy, it'll like counteract. I don't know, but people do it. But I will say the seeds are delicious.
Are they?
Again, you're going to need a lot of them to have
And you gotta get through that papery layer and roll it around in your molars for 5 minutes.
No,
and
listen,
then spit the seed out.
Listen, I grew up, my parents grew a lot of, we had a shady area, so they grew a lot of impatiens. And you know how the impatiens seed, you pop them and they shoot out seed, right?
Uh-huh.
Well, if you can kind of grab that and not let it pop, and then the little seeds that come out of it, and they're small, and then you kind of get those between your two front teeth and kind of mash them up, tastes just like a walnut.
Really?
Yeah. Just like a walnut.
All right.
It's delicious, but they're very small. So in order to get the amount of one walnut, you would probably need like
1 hectare of jewel weed seeds.
you would probably need like upwards of 3 or 4 dozen of these seeds to make one walnut in mass, but it's edible. It won't hurt you, and and it's interesting.
And we're talking about a little urban foraging.
Yeah,
so
you're just having a snack.
If you find yourself lost in the city and you need food, this is the episode for you.
Find where the stream is running through. Go down through the woods, and you'll find some jewel weed.
There's your jewel weed, and on the way you'll find some white mulberry growing out of the cracks of the alleyway.
Yeah.
A tree we talk about a lot are redbuds, much like Coosa dogwood, because of the beautiful spring flowers, the interesting foliage colors, all the different cultivars. It's a native, all of that good stuff. But the blooms on the redbud are also edible. This is going to be another one that you can use to kind of jazz up a salad, with some cool like fuchsia colored flowers, or you could put them in teas and things like that. You said the seed pods are edible. I didn't know that. What do I know? So what about the seed pods? Can you explain more of that to me and the listeners?
When the seed pods just start to develop, and we're probably past that point now, but when they first start to develop, they are very, very tender. And this tree's in the bean family, so you can treat them a lot like a sugar snap pea. Not nearly as sweet, but it has a sweet beany flavor, and that's the best I can tell you. But if it's too late, you'll know, because if you try to take a bite out of it, it's just like eating a handful of grass. Like, it's just real tough, you know. But and then certainly once they turn brown, forget about it. But when they're just developing and they're nice and soft, you can eat those. And back to the flowers,
old sweet bean.
Back to the flowers. They taste like a sweet bean.
Yeah.
It's like it's like popping a little handful of like flowery candy in your mouth. I love it. I eat it by the handful, and there's probably a lot of ants in it and bugs, but I turned my older daughter Amelia onto it, and she's always going on the front porch trying to reach the red bud flowers by the handful. But like Matt said, use them as a decoration in your salad, or perhaps put them in your pancakes. They're not going to add any flavor to the pancakes necessarily, but they'll add a fun little pink color, instead of using sprinkles or something.
And for the record, speaking of pancakes, Tim and I are pancake over waffle guys. So take that, people.
Yeah, pancakes are better than waffles.
I agree.
And don't sleep on French toast.
No, French toast is good. It's actually really good. Raspberries, blackberries, black raspberries, all of those brambles that grow. Sometimes they're a complete pain in the butt, these native ones that grow along the edge of the woods, and you're trying to like rip yourself through them, but they do produce wonderful fruits. They have got thorns from hell all over them. There are some cultivars out now that are producing thornless berries. Mm-hmm. So if you are out wanting to add these to the landscape, look for a thornless variety. You're still going to get lots of good fruit off of it, but without the pain of having to dig through those thorns and just, you come out of there and you're bleeding. But
yeah, raspberries, blackberries, and black raspberries are all something that most of us have probably come across, because they grow on the edge of a woodlot in kind of a part shade area. So they're often growing along trails, because you're missing some canopy because of that trail. So they grow along trails. And anything in the rubus genus is edible.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can't go wrong with these. They're real easy to identify. Like Matt said, in the wild, tons of thorns. But if they're ripe, that's a really nice snack.
Yeah, I mean, these are what you would buy at the grocery store, just coming off of the bush, basically.
The bush.
So, my personal favorite is Rubus cockburnianus.
Mm-hmm. You don't know why cockburnianus is
I don't
your
know
favorite.
why.
You've never planted it.
I don't know why. Well, I don't know why cockburnianus is my favorite, but it's my favorite bramble. So,
Kind of along the same page as the brambles as blueberries. And blueberries are a native, like the lowbush blueberry. They're native to the state of Ohio, and I have snacked on a lot of those hiking down in the Hocking area.
okay, yeah.
What's that one I like? Gobbler's Knob? That's not Gobbler's Knob.
Not Cantwell Cliffs, Clifton Gorge.
No, the one that's like a big one. Goes up and you have a nice look, nice view, and then you
Isn't
go back
that
down.
Clifton Gorge?
No, it's not
Cantwell Cliffs.
It's right in that area.
Sleeping Bear. Not.
No, that's in Michigan.
That's in Michigan.
Anyways, I did a lot of snacking on the blueberries.
Gobbler's Knob.
I'm trying to think. The last time I hiked this trail, I was with some friends who just wanted to like hike, and I'm just like stopping every 4 steps to grab blueberries and
Who
look
didn't
at
know
snakes.
that,
And they're
right?
like, can't hike with you. You just keep stopping. But blueberry, I mean, enough said. Blueberries.
What's cool about blueberries is you hear like plants don't like it when it gets too cold, but like blueberries need that. They need that cold weather. They need that like period of freezing weather in order to produce a good crop.
And
So
they're a beautiful landscape plant. They've
really
got
are.
colorful stems and great fall color. The problem
Beautiful
is we
foliage.
can't grow them very well in our basic soils. That's why they do so good in Northeast Ohio and Southeast Ohio, where the soil's a little bit more acidic.
yeah.
Yeah.
Persimmon's another native tree to probably the Appalachians. I don't know the native range on persimmon, but again, a native tree.
American persimmon.
American persimmon.
Diospyros americana?
Sure. I'm not sure what the botanical name is of it, the Latin name, but this is a fruit. We want to squash the old wives' tales right now that they're not ripe until a hard freeze.
Yes.
It just so happens that when the fruit ripens is about the time we're starting to get the freezes. If you eat these things and they're not ripe, it's like chewing on
Battery acid.
a ball of battery acid. It is horrible in that
It like sucks the moisture out of your mouth and makes you pucker. It's bad.
It's
Have
not
we
gonna
sold
hurt
you on
you.
it yet?
It's not going to hurt you to eat them when they're not ripe. That texture, that feeling in your mouth will stick with you the rest of the day. But when they are ripe, holy hell, these things are delicious.
Just think of like honey, like they're as sweet as honey.
But they're these like little like orangey, fleshy fruits.
Kind of the same color and size as an apricot.
Yeah, a little bit bigger than a marble, but smaller than a golf ball. Fall off the tree. A lot of times when you would see them, you would probably think, "Oh, these aren't ripe," But that's usually when they taste the best.
Yeah, if they've fallen off the tree, then chances are they've lost a lot of that bitterness, especially the flesh.
Yeah,
You can always peel back the skin, which holds a lot of the bitterness.
yeah,
So
yeah. So persimmon's another great one. Oh, what else, Tim? I know we're starting to get up there on the time here, but I want you to talk about. There's some here that we probably haven't talked about, but I want you to talk about them.
just to get a little bit like crazy, maybe you don't know about it, but like wood sorrel or oxalis it's a weed. Let's face it. It grows in lawns and it grows in your gardens and it looks a lot like clover, but it's not clover. It's oxalis or it's wood sorrel. So this is one you're going to want to look up to find the exact, so you're harvesting the right thing. But a really tart lemony flavor, to me, almost like sour grape.
Okay.
And so it's not anything I'm just gonna like just eat by, the pound, but it's like, oh, cool, just to bring me back to life a little bit. But another thing you need to worry about with oxalis or wood sorrel is that since it's mostly considered a weed, you never know what's on it, right? So if you find some in a landscape bed or like a turf grassed area, you don't know if it's been sprayed with something.
Yeah.
So that's something you just have to be careful about.
Keep that in mind.
But just like a unique, all parts of the plants are edible, the seed heads, the flowers, the leaves. So
fun.
Yeah. And then they think the last, we didn't talk about staghorn sumac.
No, we talked about it in the What's a Bloomin' Crocodile, and we haven't talked about it yet.
So staghorn or smooth sumac are very closely related. The only difference is the staghorn sumac has like a fuzz on it, hence the name staghorn on the stems. But it's blooming right now, and it's going to turn into these upright, masses of fuzzy berries that I know some people don't like the fuzziness. So like you don't like a peach because it's fuzzy, but grab a handful of these and pop them in your mouth. They're like real like sour, but like an intense like fruity flavor. Very cool. And a step further is back in my day when I was banging in high school, when I first learned this plant in an ecology class, I harvested a whole bunch of it and made like a Kool-Aid out of it.
Oh, nice.
So it was so good.
Little sumac Kool-Aid.
I steeped it in some warm water and then strained out all those seeds and fuzzy bits and then added sugar to it. And it was like bright red, like a cherry Kool-Aid, and just really cool.
Did everyone drink it? Did they drink the Kool-Aid?
They drank the Kool-Aid. Yeah,
they did.
Yeah, I think everyone drank it. Why wouldn't you?
What about Micah Stetz?
Hey, Micah Stetz. No, I don't think Micah was there. He wasn't in that class.
Bummer.
Yeah.
I like Micah Stetz
I always remember Micah Stetz's name. He beat me in for class clown in the yearbook superlatives.
Micah Stetz.
I'll never let him forget that.
And then last but not least is the gusher tree. And it's a tree that grows fruit gushers off of it. And no, I'm just kidding. That would be cool though, wouldn't it? To have trees that just grew like candies, like Sour Patch Kids and like gushers and gummy worms and
pretty much serviceberries grow candy.
Yeah, but gushers, dude.
Yeah.
Come on. When was the last time you had a gusher?
Like 2 weeks ago.
Seriously? What do your kids have gushers?
My mother-in-law, like, that's always one of the things, like, she packs in like a treat bag whenever she gives the kids a treat bag. And sometimes I snag them.
D. Erman.
Yeah.
Gosh, you just stole my heart.
And the thing about gushers, though, is you don't eat them one by one.
You eat them like bag
throw
by
a whole
bag.
bag in your mouth. God,
okay, that's good. One bag is like, I don't know, a box of gushers equals one serving.
So good, yeah. Wow, that was a fun episode. There's a lot of stuff out there that is edible that we like to mess around with.
Yeah.
We've talked about morel mushrooms and ramps, but today we were just trying to hit you with some snacks. Things that you didn't have to like take home and process and cook and steep. Things that you could just, hey, I know exactly what this is, and I'm going to give it a little snacky.
Yeah. So. And, of course, vegetables would work into this group, but we didn't want to talk about the obvious. Like, everybody knows if you go to the nursery and you buy a tomato plant, you put it in the ground, it's going to produce tomatoes that you can just pull off the vine and eat, right? But not everybody knows that you can go out and rub a hackberry around in your mouth and your molars and get this raisin flavor. Or not everybody knows that you can slice off a hosta shoot and get this nice little like tender hosta thing. So now they know.
Yeah.
And this, of course, is all because of the Serviceberry. This is a whole episode inspired by Serviceberry.
And as Alexis Nicole would say, happy snacking, don't die.
And as the Shrubby Buddies would say, love you harder.
+2.
We out.
Bye.